My name is Christopher Migioia, and I'm on the front line. My story starts, or where I'm going to start it, is when I was 23 years old and I got the call to become a day trader, trading equity options, which if you don't know is a derivative of stocks. And I didn't have training in this area. I got the job offer because I gambled a lot. I played poker about 40 hours a week, and it was through a friend of a friend's dad who worked on the stock exchange, asked his son, do you know anybody who knows risk-reward relationships, perhaps plays blackjack or poker? So they invite me to the office, and I look at it and instantly I go, this is like online poker. I can do this. I know I can. And so I wind up starting the job, and my boss isn't making much money. The reason he brought me on is he wanted somebody younger to, now that the platform was going online, and he wanted someone to figure it out together with him. So he taught me what he knew, and then we had to run from there. And he was like, listen, I can only pay you $1,200 a month, check, and I know you gotta quit your job, but you might not have a job at the end of the month. And I was like, let's do it. I'm down. And so the first month goes by, he's teaching me, I'm trading really small, we're trading small amounts, so you can't make much money, but you can't lose much money. And I bring in around $1,200, which is what he's paying me. He's like, all right, cool, we'll start month two. Month two goes, we're increasing what we're trade. He's letting me increase my bets. He has his own stuff going over here. And so I bring in $2,500. And he's like, all right, cool, like now, this is what we're gonna do. You're only gonna make 50% of whatever you bring in. It's called you eat what you kill. And I was like, this is what I want to hear. I'm doing it. So it was all, at this point, it was all I thought about. I would go home from work and I would smoke marijuana and I would think about trading stocks. And then I would go into work and then I would come home and I would do the same thing. So here I am, I'm 23 years old. The month is December, and at the end of the month, I bring in $12,600. So I get cut a check for $6K, which is like what it takes me like 3 or 4 months at my last job. So I'm like, yeah, okay, this is cool. And he's like, oh, that's like awesome. We're both souped. January comes, I bring in $31,000. I get cut a check for $16,000 at 23. Now I'm making more than my dad and my mom. Fast forward a few more months, I'm pushing the envelope every time. I'm pushing the envelope further and further and further. A few months later, I'm making $40,000 a month, getting paid $20,000 a month at age 23, and this is my dream, and I actually love it. And I'm like, listen, I don't know if I'm supposed to do this my whole life, but I know right now I'm supposed to do this. And it went on for a while. I was banking money and I was trading, and that's all I cared about. But there came a point in time, it even came to a point where I formed my own LLC. It was called Neverline Trading. I would give a portion of the proceeds to each of my family members, so now they were getting money for doing nothing, and I felt like, cool. But then I started to see that nobody was really benefiting. Like, my sister wasn't pursuing her dreams with the money that she was given. They were just collecting the money like I was collecting the money. And, somehow, some way, I started having visions of like the money just disappearing. That like I would wake up one day and it was all gone, and that it was like, it was worthless at the end. And, 23 goes by, 24 goes by, 25, I'm still making this money, and I'm living now in a loft in Old City, Philadelphia with my girlfriend, and we're on track to get married, we're on track to have the fence with the kids, with the family, and I'm getting sick. I'm getting physically sick at this point. I'm not able to digest my food. I keep pushing further and further and further and taking on more and more risk, and it's putting strain on my body. I was not able to digest food. I went to a vegan diet. It still wasn't working for me. I weighed 135 pounds. I weigh 190 now. And so I'm sick. And I tell my boss, listen, I need a month off. I need a month to recuperate. And he's like, what are you talking about, a month off? And he's like, he gets paid when I get paid, right? So he's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I need a month off. Finally, he's like, fine. I get a month off. I'm in Philly. It's December. And at the end of the month, I'm still sick. I'm not any better. And he calls me. He's like, all right, let's get back into it. You ready to start trading? And I'm like, nah, I don't feel good. I still can't do it. And he's like, well, I can't guarantee that you'll have a job when you want to come back. And I'm like, whatever, I can't do it, you know. And I'm disgruntled with it anyway, right? And I'm 25. Some things have been placed on my heart at this time. Like, I was given a vision for a novel that I was supposed to write. The novel is called The Catalyst, to put it out there. You know, I was given a vision for the novel, flashed before my eyes, and this was a few months back, and I was starting to write it, and, you know, but, like, how are you going to go from, like, making $50,000 a month to, like, writing a novel when you never even wrote anything before, and you got B's in English? And, but anyway, I'm sick, so I'm like, all right, another month off. So me and my girlfriend decided we're going to have a house party, even though I can't eat. No, I'm going to eat. So we have a house party, and this dude's like, it's my girlfriend's girlfriend, like her friend, that's a girl, his boyfriend, and he's like, yo, you want to smoke some pot? And I'm like, okay. And he's got a one-hitter, he packs it up, he packs this tiny little one-hitter, he's on the carpet, I'm sitting in this chair, and he smokes it. And at the time he's smoking it, I get this like intense feeling like you shouldn't smoke this. And it gets like stronger. Like, I've never had an intuition that was this strong. Like, it might as well have just like slapped me in the face and said like, you're not smoking this. And I was like, well, what's one hit gonna do? So I took a hit of this marijuana, and instantly I knew I was screwed. My mind exploded. Right from the bat, auditory hallucinations, visual hallucinations, I felt like I was going to die. Like, I felt like I was going to explode, like, right there. So there was actually this, like, spinning chair. Like, we didn't have enough chairs for everyone. So there was this spinning chair at the head of the table, and it was going to be mine. And I just imagined myself spinning around in this chair and, like, exploding. So I stepped back into, like, my bedroom, and I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I call my girlfriend in there. I'm like, listen, I got to leave. She's like, what do you mean? Like, what is everyone going to think? It's like, we haven't even started. Like, no one ate dinner. I'm like, I have to get out of here, get some fresh air. I can't be in here. So I'm walking down the street, and that was a wild night. The end of the night, the way that it worked is that my dad wasn't home. He was also living in Philadelphia. But I got into his apartment, and then I was just hanging out in his apartment in his hallway when his neighbor saw me. I told her who my dad was. She knew him. She let me sleep on her floor. Somehow I was able to sleep it off. I woke up the next day, and I was like, nice, I'm good. Everything's cool. All right. So I see my dad. He comes back. I'm talking to him. Like, I'm good. Then I'm like, I'm going back to my apartment, which was only like 2 blocks away from his, which was cool how it worked out. And I go to my girlfriend, and we've been having trouble for a while. So it wasn't just like this thing, but I had this conviction, like, we have to break up. Like, I'm breaking up. So I go there, and I'm like, we're breaking up. Like, I'm breaking up with you. And I was crying, she was crying, and she packs her bags really quick, and she, like, heads, and she leaves. So now I'm the only person in my apartment, and nighttime rolls around, and I go to bed. And I wake up in the middle of the night, it's about 1 or 2 a.m., and everything seems like it's foreign, like I'm in a different dimension. I don't know what's going on, and I go to my computer, and it's like on that like signal where like the screen is black, and like there's like that battery strip where it's like red, yellow, and blue or something like that, and you get the 3 stripes. And I was thinking the R meant something, and the Y meant something, and the blue meant something, and like everything meant something. Everything in my apartment meant something, and it was wild. So I go into my computer, and I feel like that it's the end of the world. So I feel like I'm never going to get to talk to any of my loved ones ever again. Like, somehow I'm separated, the world ended. I go on Google and it talks about something in space, and like, I'm like, I knew it, see? It's happening. So I send this cryptic email to my family, and I leave my apartment without my keys, without my wallet, and without a jacket, and it's January, and I shut the door. And I go walking, and I get outside of my house, and immediately upon getting outside of my house, a series of instances, coincidences, synchronicities, divine appointments, whatever you want to call it, begin to occur. So, I see this man walking across the street from me. He's got headphones on, he's walking, he's got like this cool like gait, like he walks cool, and I'm able to speak loud enough so that he hears me, and I'm like, hey man, and what's up? And I have this like deep, like this conviction, this deep guilt inside of me, and I'm like, can I help you? And he's like, nah man, I'm good. Can I help you? And I'm like, I'm a cancer. I hurt everyone I come across, and like it just comes out of me. I don't know. Just like, I don't know, the words just came out. And he like thinks for a second, and he starts walking again, and he's like, well, if you're a cancer, you can also be the cure. And I'm like, what? That guy said, what? So I keep walking. All these situations occur. I'm talking to people. I get somebody to give me a subway token. I take it. I'm sitting on the subway. I'm sitting next to this dude who's an artist, and the stuff he's sketching looks like the hallucinations in my mind. All sorts of things are happening on this night. But the way that it ends, section of Philadelphia, after taking a subway, and I'm in Thai yoga. And if anyone's familiar with the area, it's not, there we go, yeah. It's not the nicest area of Philadelphia. But I knew I was supposed to get there because I was waiting for a signal on like where I was supposed to get off. And the guy on the train, the conductor, whoever he is, was like, Thai yoga. And I was like, I was trying to get a Thai yoga massage the other day. This is the stop. This is where I'm getting off. Thai yoga. So I get off, and like it's freezing, and I see a shirt in the trash, and like I have like a really thin sweatshirt, but I'm not wearing anything under it, no undershirt. So I take this blue shirt from like, it looks like it's from like an academy or a school, and I put it on, and I put on my shirt, and I'm freezing anyway. And all throughout the night, I'm walking, I'm talking to people, I'm talking to prostitutes, I'm talking to, I was telling them that they're beautiful, all right? And I'm going inside stores that are still open at weird hours, and eventually, fortunately, the sun comes up again, and the world didn't end. There was another day, and I find these two guys outside of this community center on like Cambria Street. I still remember the street name because I like this band called Coheed and Cambria. So it was like Cambria Ave, and I was like, this is weird. But anyway, they're outside, and I'm like, hey guys, like, I had just gotten like a tune for like Reiki level 1, like whatever. So I was like, hey, like, you know, like I had this like Reiki stuff, and they were like, what? They were like, bro, all that stuff, like all power comes from Jesus. And I was like, huh? And they were like, yeah. They were like, he pulls out this like track that he's got in his pocket. He's like, read this. And I'm like, I open it up and I start to read it. There's 2 of them. And I start to read. He's like, no, man, not from your mind, from your heart. And I'm like, well, how do I access my heart? I don't know. I don't know. And the younger one, he's on a bike, he's like, listen, man, he's not going to be able to do it. He's all messed up. Like, he can't do it right now. So, you know, I'm a vegan at the time, and the guy goes into the community center, and he comes out with milk. And he's like, drink this. It's gonna bind the toxins that are in you. And he's like, what do you smoke? Like, angel dust? And I was like, it was marijuana. And he was like, that ain't marijuana, man. And so they're talking to me about Jesus, and I drink the milk, so I'm not a vegan anymore. And they're like, where are you from? And like, I was thinking I was never going back to my apartment, so I was like, well, I was from like Old City, but now I'm just like walking around. And they were like, no, man, you're from Old City, go back. And I was like, well, I don't even know how to get there. I was walking directionlessly all night. I had no idea where I was. And they're like, point like through like the city, and they're like, it's that way. Like as if I had a compass, like stay north. Right. So I'm like, all right, so like I thanked them, and they were awesome, and that was awesome. And so I wind up walking back, and somehow I do stumble upon the subway home. Only thing is I don't have a token. So I go up to the toll guy where you get the tokens from, and I'm like, listen, I don't have a token. Just can I get home? I'm just trying to get home. Like, can I just get open the thing for me one time? And he was like, man, that's what they all say. You'll be here tomorrow saying the same thing. And I was like, no, like just one time. And so he let me through, and so I got home. I get to my street, and like my dad and his girlfriend and my ex-girlfriend and her sister, everyone's like looking for me. Like they're at the apartment, they're looking for me, and they're like, oh my God, thank God. Like we thought that was like a suicide note. And so I get to my house. They open the door through like the landlord had the key. And I sit down on the couch, and then like not even a couple minutes later, they're like, the police are there, and they put me in the cop car. And I'm going to the psych ward. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. I just talked to these two people about Jesus. I feel better. Like, everything's fine. And they're like, nah, you're going to the psych ward. So, yeah. So I found myself in the psych hospital. I'm like, how did I get here? Like, wow, what a fall, right? Like, how did I get here? Yeah, I'm there for like 2 weeks, and I meet some really cool people. I have some really cool experiences, and they tell me that I'm bipolar. And I'm like, no, I smoked marijuana and started hallucinating. I'm not bipolar. And the doctor looked me in the eyes, and she goes, listen, if you stop taking these meds, you're going to come right back into this hospital. And I'm like, whatever. Like, the meds made me feel like really sleepy. So, anyway, so I wish I could talk more about that hospital experience, but whatever. Eventually I get out, and you know, not even like a couple days later, I'm cutting down the medicine because like I feel like I'm over medicated. And then eventually I stopped taking it, and I'm in my apartment alone now, no girlfriend. You know, somehow I was allowed to live alone, which is weird. And well, the short of that is like the doctor was right. Like 3 months later, I was in the hospital again. And 2012 was a really hard year for me. I was hospitalized 3 times. A lot of like, just like that experience was like weird, profound, like, you know, so were the other 2 experiences that led to the hospital. And now that I'm like reflecting on them, the characteristic that tied into all of them, like the link in all of them was fear. Like there was this high elevation of fear. Like yeah, there was strong fear that was driving these hospitalizations. All this time, I have different therapists, I have different psychiatrists, you know, throughout these hospitalizations. I'm in outpatient, inpatient, outpatient, inpatient, and I can't find a therapist that I like. I can't find a single one. So I'm like, I try this new guy because he's a psychiatrist, but he's got a psychologist in his building as well, so I can see both in the same place. So I take a chance. And I don't like my psychiatrist, but my therapist, we click. I walk in, I'm like 20, how old am I at the time? I guess I'm like around 26. And she looks like she's 30 years old. As a female, she's like 30, she looks cool, she's got tattoos. And I feel like we can just chat, like on just a level, like I can talk to her. So the first session, she's like, all right, cool. So what do you like to do? And I'm like, I'm done trading, but I'm like, yeah, I guess like my main hobby is poker. And she was like, what do you mean? And I was like, well, you know, I play poker a lot. And she was like, where? The casinos. She was like, nah, you can't do that. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it's what I like to do. I'm good at it. I make money. She's like, nah. She's like, that's a negative hobby. Like, she's like, where has it brought you? Like, look at your life. Where has it brought you? Has it brought you happiness? And I'm like, well, I guess not. And she's like, all right, what else do you like to do? And I'm like, well, I'm working on this book. And she's like, do that. And I'm like, you never even saw my writing. And I'm not a writer. But I had this idea. And she's like, listen, start writing, bring in your stuff, and I'll read it. I'll tell you if it's good. So I start bringing in my stuff, and you know, she's my therapist. So she's not going to say it sucks, but she's like encouraging me. And she's really the only person I have, I feel like, in my corner that's saying, like, you could do this. Like, you could be a writer. You know, and I didn't know that it was like it was a long road. I look back on my writing then, and I'm like, wow. But she was like, yeah, you can do this. Like do this. And so she was my therapist for a while, and she helped me greatly until she had to move on to a position where I could no longer see her. And a lot of things happen. All right, I don't know what to do in the world. I feel like God's been calling me, but I've been like kind of like when God was stepping into my life, people were stepping into my life, and they're on the street, and they would like prophesy to me. This was like when I was in Philly, and even before my first hospitalization, they would speak into my life, and it would be things that they couldn't know, and I didn't even know what that was. I was like, what is going on? And then like I opened the Bible around that time in 2012 too for the first time, and I read it, and I was like, I know this is true. Like, I know that Jesus is true, but I also knew that he wanted 100% of me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I could do that. I was like, I don't know, this is scary. And I knew he didn't want me to go to church on Sunday like everyone else and then just live in the world. And I was like, well, I never saw a true Christian. Like, so you gotta show me some. I was like, you gotta show me some. So I went through this space of like, I was like running away because it was such a commitment and a fierce call. And then I would run towards him too. I'd always go back. I'd open the Bible again, and then I'd run away, and then I'd come back. And I remember after a year of like not doing anything and working on the Catalyst, I'm like, all right, I gotta do something. And I'm like, I'm gonna go to graduate school. And while I was like sick towards the end of my training, I tried acupuncture, and it worked for me. It helped alleviate some of my stomach concerns. And I knew this wasn't my like true path, but I was like, well, you know what? Before I was all about helping myself and the people around me, and like at least if I go back to school for acupuncture, I'll be helping other people. So I take what money I have left, and I go to acupuncture school. I get in, I go, and it's in Glenside, Pennsylvania, and I'm living in New Jersey, down here, Atlantic City area. So it's 3 days a week, so I need a place to stay 2 nights a week, and I'm looking on Craigslist, and I can't find a place, so I post my own ad on Craigslist. I'm like, hey, like, I'm a graduate student, I just need a place to stay for like 2 nights a week. I can throw out like 30 bills a night, and like, I'm just looking for a good, safe home. And I get a response, and he's like, hey, like, I miss all the really weird responses that I was like, these people are crazy. I get this really nice one, and he's like, hey, like, you know, this is what I can offer you. I have a bedroom, you can have your own bedroom, I have a washer, dryer, internet. It was just really nice. So I'm like, all right, like, let's meet. I go over there, I meet this guy at his door, and it's like, I need a place to stay that night or I'm going to a hotel again. And we talk, and he's like, all right, like, yeah, you can stay. And I'm like, well, how am I going to get in and out? And he's like, here's the key. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, by the way, I'm leaving. I'm going on vacation, so you're just going to be here by yourself the first week. And I'm like, oh, okay, all right. So I meet this guy, and what I learned, guy has a sense of humor, and he's a pastor. So guy's like, you thought you were getting away. I found you. And we become close, and I get to see how, like, you know, you could be like like a dude and like be cool and be a pastor, and so that was like the first God showing me. And so throughout my time, I did 1 year of acupuncture school, and I wound up leaving to pursue. I wanted to be a writer still. Like that was strong on my heart. I didn't even realize it, and I didn't always pursue it to the depth that I should have. I didn't always believe in myself the way that I should have. I didn't realize that like it comes through hard work, that in anything that you want to do, you want to be a writer, well, you should write a lot. Like, it's not like you're gifted or you're not gifted. It's you write a lot and you get better every day. So it took me a long time to realize that. I was always like, my writing's not good enough or whatever. But anyway, so I have this road where I'm working this part-time job in an organic grocery store, and then I meet this guy who owns the restaurant where I work now, and he's like, hey, like, come work for me. We were always chatting when he would come in. He was like, how about you come work for me? And I had worked in restaurants. I didn't want to work in a restaurant, but I really liked this guy. So I was like, all right, I'll work for you. So I go, and the reason why I'm talking about this now is because, like, so 22, 23, I'm making all this money, right? And my life's a mess. And I'm not happy, and I'm depressed. Then you come to 27, 28 years old, I'm bussing tables in a restaurant. I'm living in my dad's basement again, but I'm happy. And the people that I'm around, I love them. And I'm like, wow, like, a lot of times when I fell off what I thought I fell off my path, I was like, how am I ever going to get back? Like, I made all these wrongs, how am I going to get right? But God led me the whole time, the whole way to where He wanted me to go. He put the people in my life, He put the places in my life, He put the things in my life, and eventually God brought me around young dudes who were godly, doing godly things, and He showed me them. He was faithful. He showed me these people that could encourage me and edify me, and He led me to the church that I need to be in. And when that season was over, He led me to the next church I was supposed to be in. And everything is not like I thought. Like, when I finally gave my life to Christ, for the first time, because sometimes I was like, I gave my life to Christ, and then I was like, but I didn't give you this one piece of my heart. I got to give you this more. Like, I know I didn't. I held back. Take this too. And so I gave my life to Christ. They call it rededicating.
Right.
That happened a lot. But when I gave my life to Christ, I wish I could say it was all like roses, but it wasn't. And I thought that it was kind of gonna be. There's definitely struggles. I definitely struggle, and coming from the mental illness background and the mental health background, look, I was hospitalized. I had great 4 years, doing really well, like coming off medications, like cutting off to where I was on one medication and a very small amount. And I was like to my psychiatrist, I want to be off of it. And he was like, I don't recommend that. And I was like, I want to be off it because I don't want to meet you. I'll meet you every 3 months just to check in. But anyway, I had a relapse in 2016, and whatever you want to call it, relapse, fear got a hold of me again. And the enemy's tactics and schemes, like, I didn't know how to fight him. I didn't know what he was doing. I didn't know what was going on. I know Jesus was saving me. I knew that He was standing up for me, but I didn't know how to stand up with Him. I didn't know how to stand. I didn't know how to stand still. I didn't know how to let Him be my victory. And I'm just like learning some things about this. So I've still struggled. I've struggled after coming to Christ, but Christ is glorious, and He's the coolest dude you'll ever get to know, like, ever. And He's funny, and He's persistent. And like, He's chased me down so hard, and He's relentless, and His love is incredible. And a lot of times I focus on myself and the things that I'm doing wrong, the things that are still like messed up in my head, the tactics that are still, the schemes that I'm still exposing, and I'm like, but I'll tell you that He's always been faithful to me, always been faithful. And there's been times when I've like thought that I've blown it, and you know what He'll do? He'll send somebody into my life. He'll send someone into my restaurant, and He'll send somebody with a word, or He'll send somebody with something that is only for me. And I'm like, you're still here. Thank you, God. you're still here, you still love me, you're still with me, and that's where I'm at today. He's still here with me, he's still with me, he still loves me, and I'm not alone. I'm Michael Christopher Migioia, and you are on the front line. I just want to let you know where you can find me. I'm writing a lot these days, and I'm working on a memoir of the last 10 years. If you like my testimony, there's so much more in there that, you know, I can't talk about it all. So I'm working on a memoir of my last 10 years, and hopefully it drops by the end of the year. But in the meantime, I'm writing short posts and blogs on Medium.com, which is a hub for bloggers and people who like to read blogs. It's a really good place to get all sorts of information. I'm on there posting about Christ and mental illness and my story and where I'm at each day. You can find me at Michael Christopher Migioia if you go to the Medium site and type it in. And my last name is spelled Migioia. So it's Michael Christopher Migioia on Medium.com. Check it out!